once you're free to, be whoever you want to be in the game, it helps you kind of sink into that character.
It's a cool way to be to, yeah, attract those like-minded people.
Something nerdy is gonna happen, and we're gonna make it cool, I think.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talkin' Nerdy on Outside of the Box. And for those that know, like, you may be looking at my background if you haven't played any Zelda games and be like, what is that? But if you have played Zelda games and you're familiar with Breath of the Wild, you will definitely recognize that background. And kind of in line with that is my guest today, who is Estatt, a Twitch streamer, and somebody who also really likes Breath of the Wild. So welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll definitely kind of hop around to a number of topics here, but first of all, the main thing is probably the first question I ask anybody. For you, how did you get started in Twitch streaming? Because I mean, everybody kind of, some people have been doing it a little bit of time, some people have been doing it longer, but I'm curious, what's your story on that?
For streaming, I think I started in like 2017, putting in effort to kind of stream around then. But I've been on Twitch, I think, since like 2009, I think it is, when it was Justin TV. So a long time ago. But the actual streaming part of it, I tried streaming early on, but my internet just couldn't handle it. So it wasn't until like 2017 when I had good enough internet to actually be able to try it out and that stuff. Yeah. So streaming 2017, but on Twitch like around 2009 sort of thing.
Yeah, good internet is really important for streaming.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
that's a pretty big component of it. But yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy because Twitch has been like, I mean, I'm sure that streamers know this, but like for people to just casually watch, like Twitch has been around for over a decade. In fact, like I think almost 20 years at this point. It's been a long time.
A long time. Yeah.
So like, talk about how far that has come, and like as you just being a viewer of Twitch and then deciding to stream yourself eventually.
Yeah. So like 2009, thinking about it, I think my internet was something like I had like maybe like 5 megabit down and like half megabit up or something ridiculous like that. So I would be watching like Twitch way back then at like 360p and stuff like that. Like it was low quality. But how I found it in the first place was so it would have been 2009, and like way back then streaming wasn't really a thing, right? And my friend sent me this link. It was a Justin TV link, and he's like, hey, check this out. So I go to this page, and it was a 24/7 live chicken coop feed. And like that's so random. And in like 2009, just the idea of having a 24/7 live feed of anything was crazy. And then it's just like this someone's chicken coop that they have online. So I was just like fascinated by it. And they had a search bar at the top for Justin TV. So I started looking up different things. Eventually started looking at like Mario, and there's people streaming video games and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So that's kind of like how I started like diving into it. And it was like just a mind-blowing, like amazing thing that I just found, and I got like hooked ever since then. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned the chicken coop, and for some reason now I remember that, and like that was gone from my memory, and now I'm like,
Right.
I'm pretty sure that I watched that.
Yeah. And yeah, like back then there wouldn't be a lot of channels, right? So it's like I imagine someone's random chicken coop. A lot of people who went to Justin TV probably saw that. So yeah. It's crazy.
Yes. Now there are certainly people out there. I mean, I think for those of us that obviously watch Twitch and love video games don't think that, but some people question why does anybody want to watch someone else play video games? Why don't they just want to play a game themselves? And I mean, I think most of us who really watch Twitch frequently do play games, but we also like to watch other people play
Mhm.
games. It's really a like it's a community activity.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that because I think it's so important for those that like don't understand why people do this.
Mhm. I think for me, like one thing, it's like reminiscent of being like a kid and watching my brother play video games. There's a little bit of that. And the other thing, yeah, community aspect to it. I like um there might be games out there that I might not normally play. And it's nice to see like friends and other streamers play it to kind of see what it's like, or just like get other people's opinions on games I've played or see how they played or different aspects and stuff like that. So yeah, it's there's yeah many different reasons why I'd watch Twitch.
That's very true because I would say the vast majority of streamers that I follow play games that I wouldn't play.
Mhm.
They're just
Mhm.
not things that I personally get into, but I like watching other people do it. I don't want to say it's because I like watching people play Souls games and fail over and over again in horrible ways. I don't know, maybe that's just some part of me that likes that, but I don't like to play them because I prefer not to fail in horrible ways.
Yeah, and there's sometimes as well there'll be games I've played and maybe I didn't like it, and I'll watch streamers play them and try and get like a different, like see what they're how they're playing it. Maybe I played it a bit weirdly and that's why my experience was bad. It's a good way to get a different perspective on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now I want to kind of turn attention a little bit to Breath of the Wild in particular because I know that, it's a game that you really enjoy, and I have to share my personal Breath of the Wild story because it's something that I look back on and I'm like, I really should go back and try to do more with that game. But for me, I don't know why it took me forever to just get through that introductory stage of getting off of the plateau. Like, I just couldn't figure things out and I kept having problems. And I'm like, I just really want to play the rest of this game. I just want to get out of this part. And it just took so embarrassingly long for me to get out of that once I finally did, I was like, I can't. I need a mental break because this was just too much. And I've never gone back and played any more
Oh,
of it.
oh no. Yeah, I remember, yeah, my first experience, like the plateau. Like I remember dying over and over again. It's like a totally different experience from like the other Zeldas. It's hard right off the bat. It's kind of opposite of what you expect. Like it starts off hard and it kind of gets easier over time as you get items. So it's yeah. But yeah, that plateau, first experience, really hard. Just died a bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially with like the element of like if you're hot or you're cold or whatever, and like you can't be in that environment for too long unless you have the right equipment. But at the beginning of the game, you don't really have the right equipment, and you have to figure some way to like get out of it. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for sure, and I can definitely see why people like the challenge of that.
Mhm.
Um, it's just I do need to go back to it, but for me I was like, this is just too much. I can't do this anymore. But
Yeah.
what is it for you like about that game in general that you just really enjoyed?
Um, man, put so many hours in it. I'm just trying to think of like there's a lot of challenge runs you can do with it. Like it's like open world. So there's a lot of that you can do with it. It holds a special place in my heart for just being a I remember like I've always played Zelda games growing up. I kind of dropped off with Skyward Sword a bit. Um, I didn't enjoy it myself, but I know lots of people that did. So I kind of dropped off at that point. And then leading up to like the Breath of the Wild, I kind of lost interest a bit. And then my brother started sharing like all these like feeds of like what they've been working on and changing and how long they've been working on the game. And it's like looked so different than what it had been before. And I was just like so amazed with it. And then when I finally got a copy and played it, it was just so it was kind of like refreshing from Skyward Sword, that it felt good to play, even though I was dying a bunch at the start. It just felt really good. And then like it just blew my mind how you do the plateau stuff, and right off the bat, like it just opens the world up to you, and then you can go defeat Ganon or do the rest of the stuff around the world. It was just so, for the time, it was so cool. And now it seems like that concept has been like branched upon, and there's lots of games that do that. But yeah, just when I got that quest that said defeat Ganon on it, I was like, what? I just started playing. That's so cool. Yeah, it was such a cool game.
It really is. And I mean, I like, even though I never played that far into it, you know, I appreciate what it did for gaming as a whole and kind of inspired so many other things. I mean, for me, I'm definitely a Pokemon person. And so once Pokemon started really kind of more embracing that open world concept where you could just go wherever and do whatever, I was like, this is it. Like, this is exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And there's certainly been other games since then that have done that, but Breath of the Wild really opened that door. And I mean, if I went back and played it, I don't think that I ever would try and defeat Ganon. I would just
Yeah.
go around and like cook stuff and
Mhm.
things like that, because I'm just a different kind of gamer. But I still appreciate like the people that like it for all sorts of different reasons.
Mhm. And it's very like artistic looking. Like they always do a good job to make their Zelda games like very artistic looking, and so it's like just rewarding in itself to look around and explore and all that stuff. It's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now I also have to talk about, just I know that you're generally speaking a Nintendo enthusiast, you know, and I've always been that way too. I've kind of, my partner has had to fight with me to get me more into the PC games because I've always been a console gamer my entire life. And if you get me on a keyboard to play a game, I'm like, luck if I know what I'm doing with that.
Yeah.
So it's very different for me. But I'm
Mhm.
curious, when you know, first got into gaming, what are some of the like older Nintendo games that really grabbed you, you know, when you first started playing?
Yeah. I grew up with a Game Boy. I think I got it when I was like 5 or something like that, like super young. Um, the old brick that took like 4 AA batteries or whatever, something like that. Um, yeah, I think, keep me think back. Yeah, it was first game I ever got was Kirby's Dream Land. And so I played that game over and over again. So that was kind of like my first step into like gaming, was Kirby's Dream Land. And then we got a Super Nintendo, which then that introduced me to like Zelda, Link to the Past, and Super Metroid, which is probably my most watched game on Twitch. Is Super Metroid. I just can't get enough of it. And just a bunch of those like Super Nintendo era games that I just, to this day, I think are great, and I love them quite a bit. And still watch them on Twitch.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, I did want to touch a little bit on Metroid in particular because again, it's a game that I've watched a lot of gameplay of, but I've tried to play it and I'm just like, this is a lot. But I think it's a lot in a really good way for people that love those games, because
Mhm.
the maps are just so expansive, and I think you always feel like you're finding new little things depending on which way you decide to go. And I would say that that's probably a big part of the appeal of it. But what, you know, kind of tell me more about what you really love about Metroid,
Mhm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very like Super Metroid in particular. It's very good at like giving this sense of like you're a single bounty hunter on this planet alone, and you're kind of isolated, exploring and going through aliens and stuff like that. The way it looks and the music and all that, it just fits so perfectly together, and this, and it was such a great experience. And then on top of that, they did such a good job with like the controls of how Samus moves in Super Metroid. It's it's definitely, it starts out very difficult, but then like as you start to learn all the abilities, the amount of things that like you can move and do, it's like um very technical, not required. So you don't have to worry about learning everything and all that stuff. But there's so many things you can move and do and try out that it's like when you just replay it over and over again, there's like new tricks you can try and all that stuff. It's just such a great experience because of that. And the speed runs of that game is a great way to see like all the tricks you can do. It's like super technical, and yeah, I can just keep watching that over and over again. Just all the cool stuff that they could do. It's
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
great.
kind of amazed at the people that basically have the maps memorized and know
Mhm.
exactly where to go, because it just seems like a lot to me. Like I could play that game 100 times, I think, and I'm not sure that I would remember everywhere that you need to go for every single thing. It's like it's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. A common thing now with Super Metroid is the map randos. So they'll take the maps and randomize them, and then watching players play it like speedrunners and stuff. Even when the map is randomized, they know like just based on the shape on the map, they know what room that is and stuff like that. It's like, man, that takes a lot of memory and skill to know how to remember what each room is and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have a favorite like ability or weapon that
Oh,
that Samus uses?
I've always been a fan of the Shine Spark, where she like runs really quick. So the speed booster is the one that lets her run really quick, and then she kind of goes in that like in a blue shift, like super speed. And then like I guess how do you describe it? Like if you press down, she kind of stores that energy and starts flashing, and then you can jump in like a certain angle, and she'll kind of like shoot off in that direction. That's called like a shine spark. I know that's just like such a cool move that you can just like super speed, like jump anywhere, sort of thing. And like the sound with it and how quick she moves with it, it just seems like it's such a powerful ability. And I think they've definitely used that in every Metroid since Super Metroid, I think, has Shine Spark in it, which is cool. You keep using it as they should.
Yeah. Now I don't know if that's the only one in the series that you've played, but I mean, do you have any thoughts on kind of how Metroid has evolved over the
Mhm.
years? Because I know for a long time there were a lot of people that were really critical of like the fact that there wasn't a new game for a while, and you know
Mhm.
that Metroid doesn't necessarily get as much love as some of the other major Nintendo games out there,
Mhm.
which I would say is true. You know, there's definitely games and franchises that get a lot more love, but I'm just curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing someone say like Metroid tends to be more popular kind of in like North America versus Japan. So that's why maybe it doesn't get as much attention as like their other franchises, which I guess makes sense. You kind of want to focus on your uh biggest hits sort of thing. Um yeah, just so like yeah, after Super Metroid, they had Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission, which was for Game Boy Advance. They were good games as well. Since they're on Game Boy Advance, I feel like they kind of suffered from being like a um not like the best sound quality and like screens. You didn't really get that same kind of feel as Super Metroid as being like this isolated bounty hunter in this alien world sort of idea. Um, so it felt a bit lackluster there. They're still great games, just it didn't feel the same Super Metroid. And then yeah, just waiting for like that big, great next 2D Metroid game, and it just never came. And then there were rumors about, oh, they're making a game called Metroid Dread, and this was a huge rumor or whatever. And then out of nowhere, what was it, last year? They came out with Metroid Dread. Just I think it was last year, or has it been 2 years now? I don't remember.
Might have been 2 years.
Might have been 2 years. Okay. Yeah, and then that just came out of nowhere. Like Like, what? And they used the same name as like the rumor. Like everyone, like the name Metroid Dread was just like a rumor. But I guess they were like, yeah, let's use that name. And then yeah, that came out. And that one does a great job of like capturing Samus as this like deadly bounty hunter. And they did such a good job with it. It's exciting to get that kind of 2D Metroid back. I guess it's kind of 2.5D because it's 3D, but whatever.
Did
Yeah.
you ever play AM2R, the
Oh,
made game that came out? Because honestly, like after that came out, and of course, like Nintendo was like, no, like that,
yeah.
this can't happen. But I feel like that game really drove them to make more Metroid because they saw how well
Mm.
received it was. I mean, I thought that game was almost better than like some of the Metroid content that had come out prior to that.
Mm. Yeah, it was I do have it. I don't think I ever actually played it. Like I have a copy of it. I don't want to delete it because who knows where can you get it? Um but I remember that. I remember that coming out and yeah, Nintendo went after that pretty hard. And then that's kind of I think like a year or so later, that's when the Samus Returns came out, which lines up with what you're thinking. Maybe they're like, oh, people like this. Maybe let's work on it. So yeah, maybe that helped like jumpstart these new Metroid games, which is great. Because yeah, Samus Return is also pretty good as well.
Yeah,
So
and I could be wrong about this, but for some reason I'm thinking that eventually Nintendo ended up having that guy like consult on some of the
oh
Metroid games. In fact, he was heavily involved with making the game Ori and the Blind Forest.
oh, I didn't know that.
So
That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, you see, they seem to know what they're doing because yeah, Samus Returns and Dread they're pretty good. And Ori, I haven't played Ori, but that's a game I've watched on Twitch. It's a great game.
Hey, there's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
It's definitely influenced by some of that, it seems. So now, as far as like your channel, at this point, do you have any particular like plans of what you want to do in the future with it? Or is it just you're some people are just kind of happy with the way that their channel is, and they're just happy to stream, and kind of whoever wants to watch and be there for them. So I think everybody has their own goals, but I'm curious to know what yours are.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said, it's just kind of casual streaming, it's kind of winging it. I did like in 2021, for a year, maybe into yeah, 2022, I did try um like having a bigger schedule, streaming like 4 to 5 days a week, and started doing like scheduled content and challenge runs and sub goals and all this stuff. And it was fun. And there was definitely a uptick in viewership and stuff like that. But it just trying to juggle that with like a full-time job and stuff like that, it was a little too much for me. And I've kind of gone back to like a more casual couple times a week stream. And I think that fits good. And then like I'll have friends and other viewers come in once in a while and chat while I um, play some games.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I
all
do
about
have
community building.
yeah, I do I am doing this I guess challenge this year 2024 where I just got like a pool of 20 games. I just picked random kind of games that I've played before and are familiar, but haven't really fully completed like 100% them in like a long time. So I'm not like that familiar with. And so I've got this pool of 20 games and I'm trying to complete as many as I can, like 100% within the year. And every game I donate, I plan to donate $24 to Calgary SPCA. And then every game I don't finish at the end of the year, I'm gonna eat a hot pepper, just just as an incentive to try and beat as many as possible.
Yeah, those eating challenges. Just make sure that you don't eat 10 biscuits. I've
Right?
heard that that's a bad idea.
Yeah, too dry. Oh, that's. It sounds like it's easy. 10 biscuits. It's not. It's not.
Yeah. So, and Cal, if you're watching, I'm so sorry for reminding you of that time that you did that. It was painful to watch.
Yeah,
um
it's misleading. Biscuits are, I guess it's, yeah, just how dry they are. You just can't. It's so hard to eat so many biscuits.
yeah, I would imagine. I don't think that even like dunking them in milk would fix that
Right? Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, I think that it's great to continue building the community, and I think that like there's a pretty good network out there of
Mhm.
streamers who, get into each other's streams and like support each other, and I think that's really the best way to continue to grow.
Yeah, community driven and like community engaging streams are definitely like, there's over the years of like watching Twitch, a lot of the streamers that I've seen be successful have like, they always do like something community related, get their viewers and chatters involved and stuff like that, and that seems to really help them grow, which makes sense because that's why you're there. You've got a community that you want to show off your stream to. So yeah.
Exactly. Now, if people want to check out your streams and information and like whatever, where can they find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv. Estatt, which is with two T, so Estatt. And then I do have a YouTube. The main thing is I stream on Twitch at Estatt, and usually I'll just upload my VODs onto YouTube, so quickly edited onto YouTube, and yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, I hope folks check you out and follow you and all of that good stuff so that we can continue growing the community. But I greatly appreciate you hopping on here to chat with me to let folks know about the stuff that you like to do.
Mhm.
And, hopefully they can follow and check out some good content.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, for sure. And for those that are watching, please make sure that you like, subscribe, follow, comment, all of that good stuff. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers in 2024. And we will see everybody next time on the show.